Fox is a client we wanted to work with for a long time. Been sort of discussing with Joe Hagg, the 3D executive at Fox, about trying to work on some of their films and pitching and presenting our work for the last few years, and it finally came together on this UK-based project called The Martian. And we've worked with the production team, Barry Hemsley and Richard Stam as a VFX supervisor, on a few projects in the past in visual effects. We did about 14 minutes on this, just over 200 shots. Did some early work on one of the original trailers as well. Gareth Daly is the stereo supervisor on The Martian, and he gave quite a clear idea of where he wanted to go with the project. And in Martian being predominantly native, we had to fit our stereo converted shots in around native shots. So we did the trailer very early on, which gave us a good grounding on where Gareth wanted to go and some of the things which he likes within the stereo image. And every stereo supervisor's got their own little details that they like to focus on. So it's really about understanding him as a client, to actually understand the look that the client wants for a film. Tends to go through an evolution of test shots. The workflow on The Martian, our core workflow was our traditional VD pipeline. There were some variations on that for some of the vista shots, for example, where we did tracking technique to be able to create the Z depth for the shot. And then in some of the environments, we did use geometry, some inside the hab, for example, where you've got repetitive shots, and it makes sense to actually model and track those environments. So this sort of went more into the hybrid approach in terms of geometry and roto-based. All heads are tracked as standard now within the VD pipeline. One of the other tools that we wrote to run within Fusion was the sharpening and grading tools. And this was so that we could review everything internally before we sent it to the client, heavily sharpened and heavily graded. Ridley was applying this look within the DI, and with stereo images you can often get edges will often break once this level of sharpening has been applied. So after going through this process on the trailer and having some shots come back from the DI, we then went and wrote some scripts which would run within Fusion and apply this so I could review it internally. Early on in the film, when there's a storm on the surface of Mars and the characters are walking around and there's debris and dust flying everywhere. And within Fusion we're able to use the 3D particle generating tools, and we created extra layers and stereo layers that we composited into the shots, which was great. There were some subtleties, like Gareth wanted just 1 or 2 pixels separation between, like on the big vistas of Mars, for example. You've got the hills in the far background. You might find that they're all looking fairly flat by that point, something which is 5–10 miles away. You might not perceive any depth. But in the vistas that we created, he just wanted a little bit of separation. So there's just small subtleties like that, and they are really just a creative call, really. I think continually improving on your quality and your standards is something I personally try to do on every film. Every film has a new challenge, and I think that's across the whole business. It was the same one as in visual effects. Every shot we needed to design a new render or new tools to create fur or lighting, how that takes it to the next level. And it's exactly the same in stereo conversion. I think every project has a different requirement. People tend to think sometimes stereo conversion it's just turning it into stereo. I think every project has a different requirement based on the content and the style of the film. I personally look at that every time I read a script or get involved talking to the director. What can we offer the studio, the director, that's going to make us stand out to other companies? The Martian is a really great film because I think it offers a huge amount of comedy. It's Matt Damon, who is a great actor, working in a quite unique role, I think, being the sort of sole person on Mars, and some of the comedy moments he comes out with to do with this. I love Ridley Scott films, and I think, again, this has got a great combination. And as a package, I think, The Martian has got great visual effects, good script, comedy moments, and great stereo. So I think, as a package for the viewer, I think it's a really great film.